You see the title, I'm in my pajamas, Stranger Things straight up hurt me physically. No, seriously, when I was making dinner to watch the last episode, I burnt my finger in the pan, and personally, I blame the Duffer Brothers for all of that. Okay, actually serious now, it's really easy to blame these guys, especially after the insane PR run they went on after the show aired.
Having a finished script for the finale.
Well, yeah, we're not gonna shit the bed at the end.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
Not
not
that we've
gonna be
ever
like,
half-assed anything.
No, but it's not gonna be like that'll be good enough. We'll never hear that once.
This is a ton of people. We probably should have killed some of you off.
But are we forgetting that they also made season 1? Season 1 is probably my favorite TV ever. The writing of season 1 is just so perfect. Every single second is utilized to either push the plot forward or tell us about the characters in an engaging way. And if you thought it couldn't get any better, the acting from every single person in the show is as good as it could have been. Even the kids, honestly, especially the kids. Millie Bobby Brown puts on such an amazing performance at just 11 or 12 years old. It's shocking. The kids got even better anytime there was an older actor for them to like bounce off of, but honestly, I don't even think they needed it. I want everybody to go back and rewatch season 1 as if you've never seen the show before. Don't think about the characters we know now. Just imagine as if you've never even heard of the show and it's the first time you're watching it. Now, we've spent a decade with these characters, so you might think that's hard to do, but honestly, it isn't. I tried this experiment in anticipation for season 5, and honestly, it's really easy to rewatch in kind of this mindset where you're just not thinking about anything after season 2. And that's mainly because seasons 1 and 2 of Stranger Things are a completely different show from seasons 3 to 5. The tone shift in season 3 is just so palpable. Everything is completely different. The characters are different, the setting feels different due to the new like vibrant color grading, and the Mind Flayer plot kind of gets pushed to the background because we only care about evil Russians now. I remember when I first watched this season when it came out back in whenever it came out, and I got angry. I remember thinking like, this is my favorite show and they kind of just made it doo-doo. I did not like the plot at all, and some of the character changes really pissed me off. How did Hopper go from a complete badass with basically no comedic scenes of him in the first 2 seasons into the comedic relief character in season 3? Why do we even need a comedic relief character in a show that has so much natural comedy between its main cast already? Why did he brush off Joyce when she's been correct about everything before? Why is Mike such an asshole all of a sudden? Why would the Russians speak in Russian in a little town in America when giving a secret code over the radio, especially when the code is just the names of the public stores in the goddamn mall? Why is Will's hair like that? Who did that? I assume you get what I mean now. Season 1 was airtight, no BS, no plot holes. Except for the Demogorgon opening the door. Season 2 comes pretty close, not really any plot holes, a little bit of BS, but it was still pretty good. Season 3 comes along and shit hits the fan with a lot of terrible writing and a lot of plot holes. And then season 4 comes along and it's like, well, I actually like season 4. A lot. They brought back a lot of the horror elements that I really love from season 1. Vecna's a really cool character. I think the amount of retconning it took to like have his story make sense was a little bit shaky, but it's still pretty good. Also, the shift from the Mind Flayer being like this otherworldly presence that we don't know anything about into like getting controlled by a guy with bad acne was a choice. But apart from that, season 4 was really great. It combined a lot of the comedic and lighter tone elements from season 3 with the horror and actual stakes from season 1, and I thought that was a really great idea. Well done. I'm on board with all of that. But then we got to season 5 and it was like, no. Wait.
Probably should have killed some of you off.
To be honest, I thought the first 4 episodes were actually pretty good. Now, the overall plot was a little bit stupid, which we're going to talk about in a second. But overall, if they're going to have this stupid time jump and doing the crawls and stuff, I think the idea of the crawl just going to shit and everybody scrambling to fix it was a really fun idea. Now, the writing in the first 4 episodes, are a bit shaky.
And personally, for us, I like Dick.
But come on, the abduction of Holly Wheeler, the scenes of Lucas and Max, Will the Sorcerer, and of course, delightful Derek were just so good. Overall, apart from some of the writing, the first 4 episodes of the show were really good. But of course, the last 4 episodes are what everybody's angry about, so let's just jump in. I'm also going to suggest some changes to the plot that I thought would have been a lot better. It's kind of my own headcanon, but I think my ideas kind of would have flowed a lot better with how it all shook out. I also didn't wait till the absolute last second to write them. So that means the first change I would make would be writing the show before we film it. So after the events of Will the Sorcerer, we're kind of in a pickle. The kids all wake up, but they still think that Vecna saved them from the monsters, apart from Holly and Derek. Hopper and Eleven take the absolute shittiest, worst, horrible character person ever away from the military compound. The Upside Down gamers decide to go to Hawkins' lab to figure out more about the wall, and the rest of the gang is at the radio station trying to figure out how to kill Vecna. Now that's a lot of random shit going on. Like, think about it. We have 4 distinct worlds to worry about. Vecna's mind, the Upside Down, Dimension X, and the real world. So we got 4 plot lines, 4 distinct worlds, and the entire cast is divided amongst these random places. So having the cast divided is not necessarily a bad thing. They usually do this in the previous seasons and then have their like final team up moment in the end. But usually the plots are like kind of overlapping each other and they make sense with each other. But this time the plots of the 4 different sections are like so completely different from each other, it's kind of jarring. So now this is my first suggestion for the show. Get Eleven and Hopper back into the real world as soon as possible. I know that by the end of this episode they do get back to the real world, but I think it was just a bad choice to have Eleven taken away from the main cast for 4 episodes of the final season. We already had Eleven getting separated from the main gang back in season 2, but it made sense narratively. This time, the only reason that 11 is gone for so long is so that they can bring back 8, which is nobody liked that episode from season 2. Her characterization is completely different from that episode, so you didn't even keep that. And now she's telling 11 that she should uninstall it. Like, this plot point is so weird. It's such a weird and odd idea. Like, obviously 8 gets caught because she's like murdering people and robbing and doing bad shit all the time. But 11 got by for years because she was just living life normally. The military doesn't actually know if 11 is alive or not, but they're still doing the tests on the pregnant women in the Upside Down. So the idea that if they knew for a fact she was dead, that they would stop experimenting makes no sense. So instead of finding 8 in the military lab, make Hop and 11 find that weird stone that the scientist was holding, some other like random MacGuffin. It doesn't really matter. Maybe say that the stone is the key to closing the gate, and like, I don't know. It doesn't actually matter what is there as long as it's not 8. I fucking hate 8. We take 8 away from the story so 11 can go back to the radio tower and spend more time with Lucas, Will, and Mike. So anyway, the gang of way too many characters figure out a way for Will to tap into the mind flare, which is actually really cool. I thought it was a good idea. But then, with one of the most out of character moments on TV history, we have Dustin and Steve getting into a fist fight. Now, what the actual fuck? Yes, we see Dustin fighting in episode 1 or whatever, but it's against the guys who tormented his dead friend for years and also almost got Max killed. And then after, with the scene where he explains he's afraid of Steve dying, why would you fist fight him with no regard to the vines you might step on to alert the Demogorgons or the Mind Flare, or how much noise you're making, or like, why would you fight him at all? Why are you fighting your best friend? Because you're mad at him? Let me ask you this. How many times have you fist fought your best friend because you were mad at them? If your answer is more than 0 times, get help. And obviously the fistfight is just there so they can stumble into Papa's room and figure out more information about the Upside Down and the wall. The reason I care so much about this fighting scene is because to me it cheapens the emotional payoff we get with the scene where he's crying and explaining to Steve he's afraid of him dying. It's like, you wouldn't fist fight your friend if you're afraid of him dying like that when you're in the Upside Down. And even if it was in the real world, it would still be so weird and out of character for these guys. But still, the fact that it's in the Upside Down and he's risking demogorgons coming and eating them both just makes no sense. After this, we have Holly, Max, and Derek coming up with a plan to escape Camazotz. They do their thing, Max and Holly make it to the red world where they're about to escape, but then the episode ends on a cliffhanger. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention, Nancy and Jonathan stumble across that thing, and then they decide to shoot it with a shotgun. Nancy, walk him down, Wheeler. Are you stupid? Dustin said it was going to be a shield generator or whatever. But look at that thing. Look at it. You don't know what you're looking at. Oh, you're desperate to get your sister back, right? So all the scenes of the previous seasons where she's like investigating, trying to find the truth about everything, and as actually a smart human, that was all for nothing. She doesn't know what she's doing. Here's a rewrite. Don't shoot the fucking orb. Okay, episode ends. Now it's the next episode, and we have the absolute stud, Mr. Clark. Damn, see? Librarian and the counselor? Okay. Then Max and Holly end up at square one, which is just not a time waste at all. Oh, Will is also now stuck in Camazotz, or Vecna's mind world, or whatever we're calling it now. And now we have 11 back with the gang. Finally. Which also means we get more Hopper and 8 dialogue, and it's just so good. And then we have Holly trying to convince Max to figure out a new way out of Camazotz. And I thought this was really cool because it makes sense. Max tells Holly that the only way out of Camazotz is through the most traumatic memories. Max also tells Holly that they're in Vecna's most traumatic memory right that moment. So it makes sense that Holly would make that connection and be like, wait, there must be a way out of here. It also like furthers the parallel of Holly and Mike from season 1 being like very similar, trying to figure things out. And I just thought that was cool. Good writing. Now this episode is mainly just characters talking to each other, and I kind of like this because the show transitioned from being plot driven to character driven a long time ago. So it's nice we actually get to slow down, let the characters talk, figure out how we're all feeling, like a bunch of crazy shit's going down. Like, yeah, let's see how they feel about it. I think Mike and 11 should have talked about their relationship with each other more. So here's a rewrite. Because in my head 8 doesn't exist because she's the worst character ever invented for television ever, everybody at the radio station is just talking about their relationship with each other, and they're talking about how to beat Vecna, not stupid military stuff. Just give us more. Show that they're scared. Show their determination. Stop talking about the goddamn military. Now Robin and Lucas go to the hospital, and that one lady from season 4 thinks Robin's a junkie now, which is actually pretty funny. Yeah, I was complaining about comedy, but this scene is actually pretty funny, so it gets a pass. But then we get this like really odd, out of place moment where Nancy and Jonathan talk about like breaking up or unproposing, something like that. And now I'm gonna sound like a moron again because I just said that the radio gang should all talk about their relationships with each other, and I'm complaining about Nancy and Jonathan talking about their relationship. But season 4 broke them up, I thought. Like, I thought they were over after season 4. It just felt like season 4 was about them breaking up so that Steve and Nancy could try again in season 5. But like, we got to season 5 and they went back to the status quo. So here's a rewrite. Jonathan fucking dies. And this is also after they established that Nancy and Jonathan broke up when he got back from California. His character hasn't done shit since season 2, so it won't affect the narrative that much if he dies. I also think it would have made the scene where Will gets his powers that much more impactful. Now that scene was already great, like it doesn't need the change, but just think about how much more emotional it would have been if Jonathan was already dead by Vecna's hand like a little bit ago. And it would have provided some much needed stakes for the rest of the season, because I can't lie, after episode 4, I knew nobody was gonna die. Mrs. Wheeler got fucking destroyed by the Demogorgon and is still alive in the hospital, and the entire party survived the demos right at the end too. Like, in my head, I knew for a fact that they were just like, we're playing it safe, no character's gonna die. It was funny seeing TikTok go absolutely crazy trying to figure out who was gonna die in the last 4 episodes, but I thought it was pretty obvious. They were just like, no, we love the characters too much plot armor, nobody's gonna die, happy ending, yada yada. Anyway, Jonathan gets slimed out a long time ago, and instead of that weird unproposal scene, we have Steve saving Nancy or something like that. Now, to be honest, I don't think Nancy's character had to end up with either of them. She didn't need it. The thing is, the way they wrote Steve's character this season, it really made it feel like that was gonna happen. So why not just do that? Anyways, Eleven finds Will in Camazotz and he tells her that they're about to kill Max. Now, a lot of people thought the whole thing with Miss Wheeler was stupid. Which it is, but I can't lie, I loved that scene so much. It showed us so much about Mrs. Wheeler's character, how much she loves the kids, none of whom are her kids. It's just Lucas and Max. I don't even think she's met Robin at this point. So it felt so right to give her one last thing to do before she doesn't do shit for the rest of the season. The only thing I'd change is that instead of Vecna sending 2 Demodogs, which we've seen can get killed by bullets, he sends a Demogorgon, which is basically invincible. Except for wine bottles. Hey, instead of running for freedom immediately, let's stand here where we can die at any second and just have a quick chat. Then boom, cliffhanger. We didn't have enough of those. And now in the next episode, we open with one of the best scenes in the entire show. I'm literally getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. That scene is so good. Then Holly runs through Dimension X, she finds a gate and then falls through the sky. Oh, and then we have Mr. Clark and Erica doing, what are they doing? It's been an hour since we've seen them. Let's see here. Oh yeah, they're trying to radio the Upside Down. And then now that they have communication, they immediately all go into the Upside Down. So if Eleven could lift up one of those plates at any moment, why didn't they go in from a point that's not getting surveilled by the military? Oh right, it's all being watched. But the lab, out of all the places, you chose the lab. Obviously they're going to have a lot of security on that. And if you could enter at any point by 11 just lifting at the plate, why didn't they just do that somewhere else, then use the radio in the Upside Down to figure out where they are, so that Erica and Mr. Clark don't have to go on this bullshit? Because we know that the radios work. If you're in the Upside Down, you can radio someone else in the Upside Down. So why not just do that? Okay, whatever. We get more of the military telling us how like sexy and evil they are, and then Dustin goes on and explains to the gang exactly what the wall is and what's going on with the Upside Down. So here's another rewrite. Who gives a shit about Dimension X? The Upside Down turning out to just be a connection between 2 dimensions is just really dumb. Like, think about it. Why not just make the Upside Down the other dimension? Why not just say the Mind Flayer and all the demo stuff came from the Upside Down? Like, if you boil it down, Dimension X has no business actually existing. You could just say everything that happened was from the Upside Down. You could say when Vecna split the thing with the 4 guys, whatever, it was just to bring the Upside Down to the real world. There's no point to Dimension X other than just adding more plot. There's a play the Duffers wrote that was associated with all this, and I kind of watched like a synopsis thing about it, and they don't really explain why Dimension X is a thing. It's just a thing. But even if Dimension X had a good explanation for why it's there, what's the point? For 4 seasons, we've been told that the Upside Down is the dark dimension, everything bad is coming from there. So why are we retconning that for no reason at all? Here's another rewrite. Dimension X doesn't exist, there's no such thing as the wall, and the Mind Flayer and all the Demogorgons and all that bad shit comes from the Upside Down, and even that weird Mind Flayer layer thing that Vecna's chilling in Dimension X, that's also in the Upside Down now. We're also going to say that at some point, some people in the Upside Down figure out where Vecna's layer is. They know where it is. They don't know what it is, maybe, I don't know. But that makes it so that this episode is about them trying to figure out how to get into his lair or what the actual lair is. And now comes the scene where I assume most of the hate for this episode is coming from. It's Will's coming out scene. Now, I've not experienced anything kind of like that, so I don't know how realistic it is, but I thought it was like a good emotional scene. It's a little bit too long, but I thought it was pretty good. But I am going to rewrite it so that he's coming out only to the original party members and like Nancy and Jonathan, the original cast, because I think having that scene be more intimate would have made it more emotionally impactful. And now finally, here comes the second worst episode of the entire show by far. And yeah, I mean that. I think the last episode would be the worst if it wasn't for season 2, episode whatever, where they introduce 8. And that episode is only worse because if that episode didn't exist, then we wouldn't have 8 in the 5th season fucking everything up. So just for introducing that character, that season 2 episode is still worse, but honestly, this final episode is close to it. I think the idea of Max guiding 11 through Vecna's mind makes sense. It's kind of cool. I still hate that 8 is there, but in my head she's not, so it's okay. Then we get the most obvious fake out death ever. Like, bro, why is the screen cut to black for that long? I know he's not dying. And if he did die like that, I don't think I would have watched the rest of the episode. Now everybody's in Dimension X, and oh look, at nothing, because there's nothing there. Now this season already makes the Upside Down look like shit, probably because they didn't have enough time or money to like actually make it look like how it did in season 1, but at least make Dimension X look good. It's where your final battle of this entire show is going to take place, and there's nothing there, and they look like I green screened it. There's no Demodogs, Demobats, or Demogorgons, which makes no sense at all. Rewrite again, because in my head there's no Dimension X, this battle is taking place in the Upside Down. We can even explain why there's not that many monsters. We can say that most of the demos and the bats and stuff died because they all molded into the Mind Flayer big ass layer thing. And it's kind of like how in season 3, all the people molded into like the giant meatball monster. Just say that. Just say anything. Give any explanation for why there's no monsters there. Then we could have like maybe a couple left and the gang is either fighting their way through them to get to the lair or they're sneaking past them. Whichever way, I don't care. Holly finally gets all the kids to the Red World thing, which is fine. But now Vecna's willing to go into the memory. Ooh, oh no. Honestly, that's fine too, whatever. But then we get some stupid military shit and it's like, Eight's dead? 8's dead? She's dead? Thank God there's no more stupid 11 like game ending herself stuff. Nothing. And it's not like they're gonna use 8 in the last 5 minutes of the show to completely retcon and shit on everything we're currently watching, right? Right? Hop gets tricked by Vecna to break 11's tank. This was interesting too. It was good to see Vecna doing literally anything other than babysitting. But like, if he could do that, why did he not do that? What if like throughout the entire season Vecna's like getting into people's heads and that's how like we build stakes and tension for the characters? That's not a rewrite, it's just kind of an idea. It just felt like the whole season had no stakes or anything going on for Vecna, so I think doing something like that would have added to his character and added to the tension for the final season. Now they're all fighting the big ass monster thing and like 11 gets in there and they throw each other around and then she kills him. No, like straight up, she just impaled him, just killed him. Now here's another big change. Make Will more involved with the kill. Season 5 made Will an actual character again, gave him powers, all the good stuff. So why not have him be the one to do it? Make 11 get defeated or like she's close to death or something, and then Will just steps in and then does like the bone cracking thing. Make Will murder his ass. It makes sense narratively. Will was Vecna's first victim. He made all the tunnels and shit. He even had that speech when Will was in Camazot saying, oh, it was all about you, blah, 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 blah. 11 was just a means to an end for Vecna because he needed her power of like opening the portals. Okay, so the rewrite is 11 gets defeated, but she's still alive or whatever, and Will goes in and he breaks all his bones and he does all that stuff, and everybody says, yay. So now the gang takes all the kids and they go back out of the portal and immediately get arrested by the military. The military is such a boring plot point in both season 4 and 5. Like, I don't know why they spent so much time with it, but whatever. Say the military has to be there, it makes sense, they're gonna arrest them, whatever. But here's another rewrite. So originally, 11, like, stays in the portal, or maybe she doesn't stay in the portal, nobody knows. But basically, she game ends, right? So in season 4, we established that
Jack Sullivan
dude guy, he only wants 11 because he thinks that she's killing all the students. He didn't believe in Vecna, he just wanted to keep the town safe. Like, pretty noble of him, right? But then in Will the Sorcerer, he sees Vecna with his own eyes, and he sees that he murders his entire crew. So all those guys die except for him. He survives. But like, the only reason he survives is to like tell something to Sarah Connor, and then he doesn't appear again. So why not have it like this? When they all come out from the portal, they all get arrested, and Sarah Connor's like, oh, I'm so evil, blah, 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 blah. But then
Jack Sullivan
comes out and he's like, no, I forgive you guys, let them go. Because the thing is, he now knows that everything that was told to him was completely true, right? Everything about Vecna was true. They literally saved the world, and he knows that. He knows that all these people just risked their lives to save the 8 billion people on Earth. So then just have him come out and him be the new like Dr. Owens or whatever and protect them and be like, yo, these guys just like put their lives on the line. Let them go, they're free to go. This solves 2 huge problems. One being the plot hole that the military just forgave everybody after 11 dies, as if they wouldn't care just because one of the people die. And it also means that 11 doesn't have to game end for literally no reason. I don't know, I just thought that idea would wrap it all up really neatly. Now, is that really convenient and unrealistic? Of course, Nancy and Hopper both kill multiple soldiers. In real life, they would never be free. But this is a TV show, and you can't tell me that what I just said makes less sense than what actually happens in the show, because they don't explain what actually happens. But now, finally, the epilogue happens, and it's way too long. Okay, I get it, fan service, we have to show what happened, whatever. I think everything here is fine, apart from Nancy and Steve and 11 and Mike. Like I said before, with how they were building up Steve's character this season, I think it would have made more sense for him and Nancy to be together. And 11's ambiguous ending, that maybe she's alive, maybe she's not, just doesn't make any sense at all. It's not satisfying, it's really dumb. Because why would you keep her alive just to rip her away from her father, mother, brothers, friends, boyfriend? Why, Duffers? Why'd you do that? It's like such a bad ending for a character we've been rooting for 10 years. Let her have her happy ending, okay? It doesn't matter if you don't think that she can stay in Hawkins anymore. Just move her out of there. In fact, it makes sense for all the characters to leave that town at this point. And if you're gonna send her away, send her with like Hop or Mike or just someone. But no, the character who was isolated and ripped away from her family and ripped away from a normal life now gets isolated, ripped away from her family, and ripped away from a normal life. The most annoying part about this is portrayed as like a good ending. Like, I know they're all crying because they didn't know that she was alive, or like maybe she's alive, I don't know. But like, to the viewer, this is not a good ending. So that's how I would have rewrote Stranger Things. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm stupid and should never write again? Would you love me if I was a worm? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you again at some point soon. Making videos is hard, man.